What's up, everybody? King Triple C here, the Olympic champ, the flyweight champ, and the bantamweight champion of the world. Anyhow, you guys stay tuned, and you guys don't forget to hit up Artem MMA Analysis on YouTube. Because if you don't, you guys can all do me a favor and bend the knee to King Triple C.
Alright, so the UFC is back for another fight night, and starting off this fight night that is headlined by Santos versus Walker, we have Shayna Young versus Stephanie Igger. So we've got a women's bantamweight fight here. Hard fight to predict, man. The odds have it pretty much near even. I know that they're a little bit different to what the Tapology odds have it here, but I will be giving you my pick straight away since someone did ask if I could do that. So hopefully that works out. I actually have Stephanie Igger. I've got the underdog to win by submission. So Stephanie Igger is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and she's actually fought the female heavyweight Gabby Garcia in the ADCC Grappling World Championships. She's also the 2013 Under-23 European Judo Champion. However, she didn't really have anything to offer against Gracie Cortez while she was on the ground, but she also has a black belt in Judo, it seems. Shayna Young can handle herself on the mat too. She's got a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but in her last fight, she got outworked by the Ultimate Fighter 7 Season 28 alumni Macy Chiasson in a pretty high-paced fight that really slowed down in the third round. However, she did show that she can keep up with some pace if needed. Stephanie Igger's stand-up really doesn't impress anyone, so I would give the edge on the feet to Shayna Young, but I expect Stephanie to be shooting for takedowns and using her judo background to get this fight to the floor throughout the fight. Although she's the underdog, I do favour the ground credentials of Stephanie Igger in this fight, and I am expecting a submission here. So official pick, Stephanie Igger by submission. I couldn't not tell you a round. I would say her best chances are probably going to be in the early rounds. I would say round 1 or 2. Round 1 or 2 are probably the safest rounds for Stephanie Igger here. In my opinion, both girls 0-1 in the UFC, so I think especially for Shayna Young, she lost on the Contender Series, she won, and then she lost again to Miranda Maverick, which isn't a bad loss at all. She won, and now she lost her UFC debut, so it's probably lose or go home for Shayna Young. It might even be lose or go home for Stephanie Igger as well. And she's coming off about a year layoff, but she was on a little bit of a win streak herself, and unfortunately lost to an 0-1 girl, but that was about 5 years ago, so I guess we can kind of move past that now. Stephanie Igger's got that reach advantage, Shayna Young with the height advantage. The picks are split. 60% Young, majority by decision, 40% Igger, majority by decision. Maybe this fight goes the distance. It probably will, but that is not that's not going to take away from my pick, man. I've got Stephanie Igger by submission, and I'm not confident about it because it's a 50-50 fight, as most women's fights are, but Stephanie Igger by submission. Alright, and in the second fight of the night, at least on the Tapology page, we've got Antonina Shevchenko versus Casey O'Neill. And before I give my pick, I think people are overlooking Antonina Shevchenko a lot. But with that being said, I actually do have Casey O'Neill by submission in this one. But you can't overlook Antonina Shevchenko, that's for sure. So Antonina is actually a multiple-time World Muay Thai champion, and you can see here her World Championship wins, and a little bit more on our accomplishments in the middle here, and she holds a kickboxing record of 39-1, which can be seen on Wikipedia, and obviously you can probably find it other places as well, but no doubt that she probably wants the fight to be on the feet, that's for sure, because in her last fight and over the course of her career, she has shown her weakness to be on the ground. But that's kind of to be expected when you dedicate your whole life to being a Muay Thai kickboxing specialist. 39-1, extensive kickboxing career, and all the way from 2003 to 2016, world champion in Muay Thai. So awesome for her, and I'm gonna give her the credit for that one. But unfortunately, I do have Casey O'Neill here. She's gone undefeated in the UFC, but it hasn't really been against the highest level competition. Lara Procopio, that is probably a pretty good win, to be fair. And Shayna Dobson, she doesn't have the best record, but it's still not the worst record, I guess you could say. I think Shayna Dobson is the lady that beat she beat that girl as like a massive underdog, like an insane underdog. Yeah, Maria Agapova, that's the same one. And she was on the Ultimate Fighter as well. And anyway, she's gone undefeated against pretty low level competition, to be fair, but she is only 23 years old, so she's just starting out, and she needs to stay off the feet as Antonina is taller and will be looking to keep a distance against Casey. She needs to take Antonina down. Antonina Shivchenko has a 50% takedown defense, and she was taken down 3 times from 3 attempts from Andrea Lee, so she had a 0% takedown defense in that fight. So it's no secret that Casey needs this fight to go to the ground, and I think that she will take it there. But if this fight does stay on the feet, Antonina will find a lot of success. But I still have to go with the much younger fighter, Casey O'Neill, to submit Antonina Shivchenko. In a close fight, man. Honestly, if Antonina Shivchenko won this fight, I would not really be too surprised. I know she's probably best known for being Valentina's sister, but she's actually got a lot more credentials than her MMA record kind of implies, to be honest. So, unfortunately for her, though, she's pretty old now. She's about 36 years old, and she's fighting a very young Casey O'Neill. The Tapology votes are surprisingly lopsided. To me, anyway. I thought a lot more people would be putting a bit more respect on Antonina's name, but I guess not. Majority of people picking O'Neill. Some people by decision, majority by submission, majority by KO TKO. That's probably a ground and pound, because I don't see Casey O'Neill knocking out Antonina on the feet. So yeah, that's my pick, man, Casey O'Neill. But she needs to take the fight to the ground, like needs to. And yeah, that's it there. Alright, so for the next fight, we've got Alejandro Perez versus Johnny Eduardo. My official pick is Alejandro Perez, but inside the distance. I couldn't really decide if it would be a knockout or a submission, and I will get to that later on in this little video here. Johnny Eduardo has been signed to the UFC since 2011, and he has fought in the UFC 7 times. He's definitely a pioneer of MMA, and he made his debut in 1996, which is about 25 years ago. This guy was probably 16 years old when he had his first MMA fight in 1996, which is pretty insane. I thought they'll throw that out there, but he is 41 years old now, and he has not fought for 3 years. His last loss, a submission loss to Nathaniel Wood, and then he got knocked out by Matthew Lopez about 4 years ago. Alejandro Perez, on the other hand, he's 32 years old, and he's coming off his own 2-year layoff after getting brutally slept by Song Yadong. Johnny Eduardo is the more lengthy fighter here, and he does have nice kicks overall on the feet. Alejandro Perez likes to walk forward, and he throws heavy shots, so he'll be looking to put on a bit of pressure on Johnny Eduardo in this one here. Johnny Eduardo's losses, he's got 12 of them. 9 of them are by submission. So that's kind of why I was debating, do I go with Perez by knockout or over the 41-year-old? Or do I go with Perez by submission? So, I don't know, man. Like, Johnny Eduardo's weakness is obviously to submission, and this knockout loss here 4 years ago was his first knockout loss in his career in 11 losses. So, I don't know, man. I do think that Alejandro Perez gets it done inside the distance, but I don't know if it's going to be a submission or a knockout. It's just going to be interesting to see, but I think in the 2 years off, the 32-year-old Perez will have developed a lot more as a fighter, and a 41-year-old Johnny Eduardo who hasn't fought for 3 years, We don't really know how he's going to look in there, and to be honest, he does train for a really good camp, Nova Unuao. A lot of killers do come out of that camp, but I just think I'm going to have to go with the younger guy, Alejandro Perez. I think he's going to finish the fight. I think he's going to make a pretty good statement. Song Yadong is up in the rankings a little bit now after a pretty big win in his last fight. And so that loss really doesn't look too bad. And he's only 23 years old. Yeah, he beat Casey Kenny by a split decision. I thought he won the fight, to be fair. And yeah, no, I think he's working his way up in the rankings. But yeah, so that loss hasn't aged too badly, to be fair. Alejandro Perez, I think he's going to get the job done inside the distance. Majority agree, majority disagree. Sorry. Most people think Perez is going to win a decision. A lot of very heavy bias on the Perez side. I think that's fair enough, man. Eduardo is 41 years old. For a bantamweight, that's pretty old in my opinion, dude. So, yeah, I've got to go with Perez. I've actually got him inside the distance, unlike the majority here. Submission or KO. Very surprised how little I pick him Perez, considering Perez actually has 6 wins by submission of his 15 wins. And of his 21 wins, sorry. And I think he's got 9 wins by knockout, so he's got 15 finishes, 9 by KO, 6 by submission. Off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure that's correct. And Johnny Eduardo has been submitted 9 times, so there's definitely a submission threat to be had here in Perez. And I just think that he will definitely have improved as a fighter over the last 2 years that he has had off. So that's my pick there. Okay, so I just recorded this video and then accidentally deleted it, and I have absolutely no idea how. So, Jamie Malarkey versus Devonte Smith. Devonte Smith, he's got 11 wins. 10 of them are by knockout. 1 of them are by submission. And I think that this fight is going to be awesome. I can see it taking place primarily on the feet. And if someone will be going for takedowns, it will be Jamie Malarkey, as he actually does land 3.9 takedowns on average for 15 minutes. And in the UFC, though, Smith has shown a 100% takedown defense, but it is worth noting that only 3 takedowns have been attempted against him in the UFC. I can see the fight being quite back and forth on the feet, but I do think that the man landing the more strikes, the man landing the more significant strikes, will be Devonte Smith. And that brings me to my pick, as I forgot to say it. Devonte Smith by KO or decision in this one here. And I actually think Davonte could find himself in the 3rd round of this fight, which is going to be interesting because Jamie Malarkey is tough. He's shown his toughness in the UFC, especially against the fight with Brad Riddell. And Devonte Smith has actually seen the 4th round before in the regional scene. In one of his older fights, he did fight to the 4th round against Nick Gertz, and he has a loss to John Gunther, which, if you're familiar with The Ultimate Fighter, Season 27, I believe, yes it is, Season 27, you'll probably know John Gunther. He's an interesting dude, he's pretty funny. And, anyway, that I just got off track, but, this fight could go the distance, but all the signs do lead to a Devonte Smith knockout, and I just think he's going to get the better of Jamie in this fight. I do like to pick the Australians, I do like to pick the New Zealanders, but unfortunately, man, I do have to go with Devonte Smith by KO. But if this fight goes the distance, I think Devonte Smith would be on the receiving end of a victory because of the judges there. So I've got Devonte Smith in this one by KO primarily, but we could actually see a decision as well. Alright, so the next fight of the night, we've got Douglas Andraj versus Gaitano Perello. And man, this is actually going to be a pretty good fight, I reckon. So I'll just make sure that Artem's little head isn't covering up Gaitano Perello's stats there. So Gaitano Perello, oh sorry, I should get to my pick. My pick is Andraj decision and maybe by KO. So Gaitano Perello fought Ricky Simone in his UFC debut. Pretty sure that was short notice as well. That is very hard to ask someone to fight Ricky Simone in the UFC debut. I mean, I'm pretty sure Ricky Simone actually holds a win over Merab Dvalishvili, which has aged very well. But anyway, that doesn't actually matter, I guess. So he is a solid striker who likes to show heavy shots, and which is why he's got 11 knockouts in his career. If he is to win the fight, I do actually think that he does need to land one of these heavy shots and knock out the 36-year-old Douglas Andraj. Douglas Andraj, on the other hand, has he's traded wins and losses with some of the best bantamweights in the world right now, including a win over Marlon Vera, a win over an old Renan Barão, but still Renan Barão, and he's got losses to Rob Font and Piotr Jan, which have aged pretty well. I mean, to be honest. So, and his most recent loss was to the undefeated at the time Lerone Murphy. So, he's very explosive and he is very physically strong. And he has fought at 145 in the past. His last fight was at 145. He's dropping back down to 135 to take this fight against Gaitano Perello, and he himself boasts a lot of knockouts. So he's got 26 wins. 19 of them are by knockout, so that's pretty impressive, man. So, in the fight, though, I can see Andraj utilizing his strength advantage to get some control time, maybe even up against the cage, as kind of what I mean, to try and just stifle Gaitano Perello's his heavy shots, which he will be trying to come forward with. Douglas Andraj, I do think that he does have the experience and the skills to kind of avoid that, but at the same time, I do just want to be, I guess, a little bit careful, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But anyway, man, let's get to the stats. So Douglas Da Silva Andrade, he has landed takedowns in the past in the UFC with a 50% accuracy. So he averages at least shooting for 1.4 takedowns on average per 15 minutes. And obviously there's only one fight to go off of for Gaitano Perello here, but yeah, man, it's interesting. Douglas Andrade actually absorbs more than he lands, with a pretty low striking accuracy as well. But he's a good fighter, man, and here's why I am backing him to win this fight. And yeah, just to get back to my overall points, Douglas has been in there with some of the best, and some of the best at the moment as well, win or lose. He has landed takedowns in his UFC career, as I said before, but I would still describe him more as a striker, and I can see him outlanding Gaitano over 3 rounds here to a win. I wouldn't even be surprised if Douglas Andrade goes and gets some pushes up Gaitano up against the fence, maybe even lands a couple of takedowns, and just to stifle Gaitano, and so he doesn't have the opportunity to throw his heavy shots. But even if the fight stays on the feet, I've still got Douglas Andrade anyway. I know he's 36 years old, he's over 35, but he's still very good. And yeah, I just see him getting the win, to be brutally honest. I'm pretty confident in this pick. Douglas Andrade, hopefully he doesn't prove me wrong and make me look like an idiot. And to my surprise, man, a lot of people picking Andrade by decision as well. I thought that there would be a lot more in the KO, TKO sort of range. Andrade has 19 knockouts. You can't really forget about that. 19 out of 26 is a pretty insane stat. But majority going decision, 88%. Picking Andrade. Yeah, my confidence is pretty high on Andrade, to be brutally honest, and hopefully he doesn't make me look like an idiot. He might, which would suck, but I've got Douglas Andrade in this fight here by decision, but I could see a KO as well. I wouldn't really be surprised if he gets his 20th KO of his career, which would be insane. Alright, this next fight we've got is Karol Rosa versus Bethe Correia, and this is an interesting one, man. To be brutally honest, I can see Karol Rosa maybe getting a finish in this one, but my official pick is Karol Rosa by decision, and I think it might be a relatively dominant decision, and this will be a very good name to have on her record, although she is a pretty heavy favourite here, and I do favour her to win. Bethe Correia, very big name, and we'll get into what she's done in the past, and I'll just make sure that Artem's little head is not covering Bethe Correia's stats there. So Karol Rosa, she's a prospect to watch. She's well rounded and she's got good takedown defense and a 90% takedown defense in the UFC. The career trajectories of both fighters are completely different. 6 years ago, Bethe Correia was fighting Ronda Rousey for the title, and since then she has gone 2-5. And it's worth noting she got knocked out by Ronda Rousey in 30 seconds. But I guess who didn't lose to Ronda Rousey in the first round back in those days, apart from Holly Holm, obviously. And I believe this is her retirement fight. There's been rumors of a Bethe Correia retirement for a long time. She's 38 years old. She's 1-3-1 in her last, unless it's a no contest there. Decision, yeah, to draw to Marion Renault. So she's pretty old, man. She hasn't been doing too well in her last 5 fights. I mean, bitch Kahea, she's a big name. If she won this fight against Carol Rosa, I mean, she could probably keep fighting, but if her heart's not really in it, it's like the Nick Diaz situation. You could kind of tell he wasn't really too keen on doing the fight. So I guess if your heart's not in it, then you're not really. No, you probably shouldn't be in there. Is kind of what I'm saying, to be really blunt. But on the other hand, Carol Rosa is on a 5-fight winning streak. 3 of those wins are in the UFC. Carol Rosa is. I don't know. What is she going to do? Is she going to take the fight to the ground, or is she going to keep the fight on the feet? My notes actually say they contradict themselves. So here's what my notes says, but they are very contradictory. Carol Rosa is likely to keep this fight on the feet, and we may see a stand-up fight from both girls. However, Carol Rosa does land 2 takedowns per 15 minutes and does possess a pretty good ground game herself. Overall, this fight is strange, and I can definitely say that I'm pretty confident in picking Carol Rosa here. It is women's MMA. You can't really be too confident in women's MMA picks, but Carol Rosa is on a 3-fight decision streak here. The stats favour Carol Rosa quite significantly, but she has been winning decisions, so obviously she's landing a lot of strikes per minute. She's absorbing a lot of strikes per minute as well. But that's what I mean, man. 2 takedowns on average for 15 minutes. Maybe she does mix in the takedowns against Shivchenko. But we'll see what happens, man. Majority are picking Carol Rosa to win the fight. Very lopsided. Shivchenko could win the fight. There's no... I mean, it's MMA, man. Anything can happen. But I do have Carol Rosa. She's the much younger fighter. I can just see her landing the more significant strikes. I can also see her maybe even getting some control time in there. And yeah, Carol Rosa by decision is my official pick. Alright, moving on to this next fight, we've got Joe Salicki versus Jared Gordon in a close fight, man. This fight is going to be pretty close. What I've got in my notes here is Joe Salicki by submission or decision. But the fight could go either way. I'm going to be honest, man. I could see Jared Gordon also winning a decision and making me look like a bit of an idiot. But Jared Gordon, he's got a very heavy pressure style and he possesses some very good wrestling. However, Joe Salicki has a strong submission game, which I do think will force Gordon to keep the fight on the feet. At one point, it just seemed like all Gordon had was his wrestling. He had really good takedowns. He's got really good ground and pound as well. But recently, he seems to have developed some sort of a much better striking game. He did lose to Charles Oliveira, got knocked out by him. But that's not a bad loss in hindsight, dude. And yeah, he beat Danny Chavez in the striking game. He outlanded him 2-1 in that fight. And Joe Salicki's got great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's got a long reach and he's got good strikes. I would say specifically his boxing is pretty good. He does like to land some 1-2s straight down the middle. On the feet, Jared Gordon, he's actually a lot more active. But do note that this doesn't include ground and pound strikes as well. 5.5 strikes landed per minute. 56% accuracy, 2.6 landed per minute for Joe Salicki with a 66% accuracy. And he's only absorbed 0.8 strikes per minute. So he's done very well to be defensive there. And honestly, this fight is hard to call. I do see Joe Salicki locking in a submission somewhere, but this fight is very close. And my notes have actually got, but man, it's close. Written down exactly. But one thing that you might look at here, you'd be like, oh, Joe Salicki's got a 0% takedown defense. What does that mean? It is actually worth noting that no one has actually attempted to take down Joe Salicki. Even Jim Miller shot for no takedowns in that fight. Austin Hubbard shot for no fight. Matt Wyman shot for no fight. And Wallace, I forgot his name, it slipped out of my head. James Wallace shot for no takedowns in their fight either. So I actually think this takedown defense could be tested in this fight. We do have the wrestler in Jared Gordon, but maybe if Joe Salicki tries to submit him, gets into some scary submissions, maybe Jared Gordon won't want to take the fight to the ground anymore, and it will become a stand-up fight, which could happen. It would be very interesting. But I do have Joe Salicki in this one, and he's got good momentum, man. He's 11-2. He's on a decent win streak. I know it's longer than 5 fights anyway. He's on a 6-fight win streak. Yeah, he's on a 6-fight win streak. Anyway, but yeah. I've got Joe Salicki, and it's a close fight though. Jared Gordon could win the fight, but Joe Salicki by decision or submission. Tapology agrees, surprisingly, by a very large margin. That's a very large amount of people picking Salicki there. Man, okay. Yeah, I've got him by submission or decision, so I'm in the majority as well. But yeah, Joe Salicki, very close, very close fight in my opinion. All right, this next one we've got a short notice replacement, Mike Braden, taking on the fight against Alexander Hernandez. Alexander Hernandez, I don't know about you guys, but unfortunately for Alex, dude, to me, he is most well known for getting knocked out by Donald Cerrone after talking all of that smack. But he did look not too bad at the start of the first round. But after that, it kind of went downhill anyway. So after that, he beat Francisco Trinaldo, lost to Drew Dober, which I guess happens. Drew Dober at one point, I think he might even still be ranked, but I know that he was at the bottom end of the top 15 relatively recently. Beat Chris Grutismarker, who recently just beat Rafa Garcia, if I'm correct, who was 12-1 at the time, so that win has actually not looked too bad, and then he lost to Thiago Moises. But this is an interesting fight. Alexander Hernandez is actually he's actually a little bit he's actually surprised that he didn't win the fight, and if you actually look at the stats, the stats are a lot closer than a 30-27 decision. I'm gonna be honest. Alexander Hernandez outlanded Thiago Moises and was more active in the first round. He barely outlanded him in the second, but he got outlanded in the third. So I mean, there's an argument to be made there, I guess, but that's only looking at the stats. But yeah, coming up to this fight, obviously Mike Braden, he's never fought in the UFC before, so we don't really have any stats. Oh, sorry, he fought in Dana White's Contender Series and lost. That's right, a decision as well. So we do have some sort of stats here. But he does absorb a lot of strikes, as I kind of said. He's very hittable on the feet. He lost to Anthony Romero, who was undefeated at the time about a year ago. And now he's coming back to fight Alexander Hernandez. Big opportunity for a debuting guy, that is for sure. But Alexander Hernandez, he should knock this guy out. But if he doesn't, it would not be a good look for him, in my opinion. If he wins in a pretty dominant way, I guess we could probably still talk about him being a bit of a prospect. I know Mike Braden is from the regional scene, though. He hasn't fought in the UFC before, apart from Dana White's Contender Series. But if this fight actually lasts longer than a round, we could actually be in for a scrap. Mike Braden, he would be pretty keen to stand and trade with Alexander Hernandez. I wouldn't recommend it, but if he wants to, he would stand and trade with Alexander Hernandez. But Alexander should finish this fight, man. He really should win by knockout. The odds are so open. You can't really disagree with them. Everyone's picking Alexander Hernandez, mostly by KO. I do maybe a decision, but I don't see Braden lasting that long. I think Alexander Hernandez should land and knock out Mike Braden in this fight here. Alright, and then this next one, we've got Nico Price versus Alex Oliveira in a fight that probably could be the co-main event. I know they're not ranked, but everyone loves Nico Price. Win or lose, the guy puts on some really good performances. Alex Oliveira, on the other hand, kind of the same thing. You may be surprised, but he's actually only 33 years old, albeit he has had 22 wins, 10 losses, and 1 draw. So that is 33 fights. Quick maths there, and he lost to Randy Brown by submission in his last fight. I think that was actually in the first round. And before that, he lost to Shavkat Rakhmonov. So this guy has been placing prospects in his last two fights. He's got a split decision win over Max Griffin, which looks, I guess, pretty good in general. And before that, he's been winning and losing just in the UFC pretty much. Went over Carlos Condit in 2018, which is not too bad. And yeah, he's been signed to the UFC for a long time. Lost to Donald Cerrone back in the day. Cowboy versus Cowboy. I actually think that was a main event. It was way back in the day. Now, that was probably when I just started watching UFC as well. No, I started watching in May 2016. So I missed that main event by about 2 months. But anyway, I need to get back to what the video is actually about. Nico Price, I think he's going to win the fight over Alex Oliveira. I would say knockout, but I actually think we might see just a 3-round war between these guys. Nico Price, the volume of Nico Price is pretty unmatched. 5.29 strikes landed per minute, and most of those take place on the feet because he doesn't really shoot for takedowns. 0.75 landed per 15 minutes. Alex Oliveira, on the other hand, kind of does. 2.37 takedowns landed on average for 15 minutes with a 37% accuracy. And 66% defense for Nico Price, so maybe we could see that tested in this fight. Who knows? That probably would be Alex Oliveira's way to victory. He probably doesn't want to stand with Nico Price too much because every strike that Alex Oliveira throws, Nico Price is probably going to throw 2 or 3 more back. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this fight goes. Maybe Nico Price would find a finish in this one, but it's interesting. Nico Price by KO or decision. I do have him by decision. His last win is actually against James Vick in 2019. And Tim Means of 2019 as well. So he's got two wins from bottom position. Lost to Abdul Razak Al Hassan in the first round. But yeah, man, I can just see that. I think this fight might go the distance. His fight with Michelle Perello went the distance. Who knows how that happened? And yeah, Nico Price always in an exciting fight. I think he's going to be an exciting fight again. Fighting a veteran, Cowboy Oliveira, been signed to the UFC for a long time, but Nico Price is going to use his volume. I think he's just going to out-volume Alex Oliveira to a 30-27 decision. Alright, we've got Misha Sirkanov versus Christophe Jocko in a pretty close fight, man. Once again, could probably go the either way. Misha Sirkanov, as you guys may be aware, dropping down a weight class to 185 from 205, taking on Christophe Jocko. A bit of a veteran in his own right, 27 professional fights. Misha Sirkanov, unfortunately, man, he's been on the receiving end of a few knockout losses in the light heavyweight division. Notably the Ryan Spann knockout in the first round. Lost to Johnny Walker in the first minute. Glover Teixeira by ground and pound in the first round. Volkan Oezdemir by first round knockout. So, I mean, that's kind of scary, I'm going to be honest. That's not really the best look, getting knocked out 4 times in 4 years. He only got knocked out 6 months ago, so he's taking a bit of time off. And yeah, he's beat Jimmy Crute with that Peruvian necktie in the first round. Submitted Patrick Cummins in the first round. And he's got all of these submission wins, dude. I think he's got 9 submission wins from, 9 submission wins. Christophe Jocko, on the other hand, pretty good himself. He's coming off a loss at the moment to Sean Strickland by decision. He beat Eric Anders, Marc-Andre Barriault, and Alen Amadovsky, all by decision in his last few fights. He has been KO'd twice himself in the middleweight division by Uriah Hall. I mean, that happens. By Brad Tavares, I guess that happens as well, especially later on in the fight. But Christophe Jocko, not a joke either. It's going to be a pretty good test for Misha Sirkanov, I think. But I actually think that Misha Sirkanov is probably going to pass this test. I have Misha Sirkanov by submission in this fight. I actually think that he will get the job done. I think he's going to get the job done inside the distance. He's actually very confident in his striking, but the confidence in his striking unfortunately has led to him getting hurt in the past, to say the least, at light heavyweight anyway. Misha Sirkanov lands 4 strikes landed per minute. Christophe Jocko about 3. He lands 4.3 takedowns per 15 minutes, which is pretty insane with a 57% accuracy. Christophe Jocko doesn't really go to the ground as much, albeit he has landed more than 1 takedown on average per 15 minutes. With an 87% defense, which will be tested in this fight. And I actually do think that Misha Sirkanov, if he can have a good weight cut, if he can look good at 185, coming down from 205, I think he's going to be the stronger man in the octagon, and I do think that he could potentially outmuscle Christophe Jocko to the ground and either work his ground game to a decision, but I actually predict that he is going to get a submission win over Christophe Jocko at the moment. And Tapology has him as an underdog. I don't know what the official bookies actually have him as, but we've got an underdog here and Misha Sirkanov to get the job done by submission. And I just like the look of Misha, man. Hopefully he gets a good weight cut. Hopefully he makes it to 185 without really any problems. And he is going to be the bigger man in there. And I think he's going to take down Christophe Jocko and get the submission. Wow, okay, so we've got a 50-50 split right down the centre. Jocko son by KO. Understandable. I mean, Sirkanov being knocked out 4 times. And 4 times in the UFC. I should probably add to that there. Sirkanov, on the other hand, and he's got a lot of decision wins as well. But Sirkanov, a lot by submission, a few by decision. I'm with the submission, guys. 50% picking Sirkanov, 61% by submission. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. 50% right down the middle on the Tapology votes. So let's see what everyone else thinks. Alright, we've got Aspen Ladd making her return after about 2 years off to not an easy opponent at all. We've got Macy Chiasson, the winner of the Ultimate Fighter Season 28. Honestly, one of my favourite seasons of the Ultimate Fighter. You guys should know by now, I love the Ultimate Fighter, man. Macy Chiasson won it, and she looked good doing it too. She went on to win. She's only got 1 loss in her career, and that is to Lana Lansberg, who Aspen Ladd actually finished 3 years and 10 months ago. So Aspen Ladd only 26 years old. Just gotta make sure that Artem's little head isn't covering any of the stats. And yeah, she hasn't come back for a long time. She's fighting after KOing Yana Kunitskaya in her last fight. She's fighting Macy Chiasson. I've seen a few opinions thinking Macy Chiasson will win. I originally had Macy Chiasson, but I've switched my pick, man. I know that this fight was actually meant to happen quite a while ago, if I'm not mistaken, and it's been rescheduled. As it has. It was meant to happen earlier on in the year. Actually, at that time, I had Macy Chiasson, but the more time I've had to think about it, I'm still pretty unsure, dude. Macy Chiasson, she's 5'11". Aspen Ladd is 5'6", and Macy Chiasson has a much bigger reach. But Aspen Ladd, her style is so overwhelming. She wrestles you, she tires you out, she ground and pounds you. She lands a lot of strikes on the feet as well. I think Macy Chiasson will probably have the striking advantage. She actually does have pretty nice striking, especially considering she's going to have that reach advantage. Artem Lobov's little head is covering the stats. But she's got the reach advantage. She's got a very significant height advantage. She's going to look a lot taller than Aspen Ladd in the cage. But I think Aspen Ladd, once she gets the fight to the ground, which I do think will eventually happen, I think she will eventually tire out Macy Chiasson using her relentless wrestling. And I can just see Aspen Ladd maybe a 29-28 decision win. Macy Chiasson might win the first one, and Aspen Ladd comes back in the last 2. Uses her wrestling, gasses out Macy Chiasson, and grinds it out to a decision win. But man, it's gonna be a pretty close one. It's not a really easy fight to call. Aspen Ladd, though, very active fighter. That's her style. She overwhelms you. 5.2 strikes landed per minute. She does absorb a bit in the meantime. Macy Chiasson also lands a lot of strikes per minute, but doesn't really shoot for the takedowns as Aspen Ladd does. 2.45 takedowns landed per average for 15 minutes. That is really going to test the 64% takedown defense for Macy Chiasson. I hope Macy Chiasson has been testing her takedown defense in this fight, but is there a path to victory in this fight for Macy Chiasson? Absolutely there is, but I do have Aspen Ladd to win this fight by a decision, and man, it's a close fight. I've been flip-flopping on it. I was originally on Macy Chiasson's side, but the more that I think, that's not even a word, but the more that I have thought about it, the more I like Aspen Ladd. So I'm going to go with Aspen Ladd by decision. Everyone else has Aspen Ladd by decision. A few people by KO, TKO. Maybe that happens. If Aspen Ladd is to finish Macy Chiasson, it will be later on in the fight. Probably 2nd or 3rd round. I'd say probably more likely the 3rd round. She just TKOs a gassed out Macy Chiasson, who was just gets overwhelmed by Aspen Ladd's fighting style. Her wrestling style, her ground and pound, just the pace that she puts on as well. And yeah, I've got to go with Aspen Ladd, but Macy Chiasson, man, 100% got a chance, and I feel like she has kind of been underrated coming into this fight as well. Alright, man, a fight I'm really looking forward to for a number of reasons, man. We've got Kevin Holland, the man that won 5 fights in a row last year, I believe it was, but then he is 0-2 in his last 2 fights. The man known as Big Mouth, the man that Dana White called up on late notice to fight the man himself, Thiago Santos, back in 2018. and since then, man, look how active this guy has been. It's actually insane. 5 wins in 2020. Sorry, ignore that. Hernandez, Buckley, Stewart, Ontiveros, Jacare Souza, and then he came into 2021, did not look so good. But man, you got to respect the guy. About 2 weeks notice or so, maybe even, I think it might have even been less than that, he stepped in and took on Marvin Vettori in a main event, after main eventing against Derek Brunson and losing 50-45 in that one. He lost to Marvin Vettori as well, but in those 2 fights, his takedown defense got exposed, and since then he has made the right choice, and he has actually started to train with Daniel Cormier and a few guys over at American Kickboxing Academy to help sort him out, and he has been claiming over social media to be a new fighter. However, he's only taken a 5-month break. Hopefully in those 5 months, man, he's really been drilling in some takedown defense, working on his wrestling, because Kevin Holland, he's a special guy at 185. I'm gonna be honest, his stand-up is actually really good. 81-inch reach. Apparently he's got a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I guess it's kind of like a little bit of a meme that we haven't really seen it work out for him, I guess, if that makes any sense. Kyle Delkis, on the other hand, younger brother to Chris Delkis, and in my personal opinion, I think he's just always going to be known as Chris Delkis' brother. He's got really good ground game, he's got really good ground and pound, really good top control, and great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu himself. But Kyle Delkis does not like the fight being on the feet, and if Kevin Holland was able to hurt Marvin Vettori on the feet, I genuinely think that Kevin Holland should be able to hurt Kyle Delkis on the feet. But man, there's a couple of factors that really matter here. How good is Kevin Holland's takedown defense? Because Kyle Delkis is going to come into this fight knowing that Kevin Holland's takedown defense has been exposed pretty badly by Derek Brunson and Marvin Vettori. Like, if we look at the stats for those last 2 fights that Kevin Holland was in, 11 takedowns landed by Marvin Vettori of 17 attempts, so 64% takedown rate for Marvin Vettori in that fight there. 6 takedowns landed by Derek Brunson, but with 17 minutes of control time. I should probably have checked the Marvin Vettori control time. 20 minutes of control time, yeah. Scary, dude. If Kyle Delkis gets on top of Kevin Holland, hopefully he's been working on his wrestling to stop that or to get up. Yeah, man, that's the thing. Kevin Holland, he gets on his back and he kind of just accepts it. He's probably not going to be able to get another finish like he did over Jacare Souza back in the day, where he knocked him out off his back pretty much, and then after that Jacare was a bit dazed, and Kevin Holland kind of started raining punches down on him after he stood up. So it was actually pretty scary moment there for Jacare. He ate quite a few punches. Kyle Delkis, on the other hand, he's got a chance to win. I personally want Kevin Holland to win, I'm gonna be honest. I kind of want to see him make a resurgence, and yeah, he talks a lot of smack, but it's pretty entertaining, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. But yeah, dude, the guy's active. The thing is, you've got to support the active fighters. I mean, how can you not support guys that fight 5 times a year, win 5 times a year? Like, that's the guys that you want to be keeping your eye on. That is for sure. So Kevin Holland, I actually do think that he will find the knockout over Kyle Delkis, and yeah, 85% picking Holland, 40% by decision. Disagree, man. I can see a knockout for Kevin Holland here, and I think that he's going to knock him out pretty early on in the fight. Kyle Delkis does not like the fight taking place on the feet. He lost a decision to Phil Hawes, beat Dustin Stolfus by decision, lost to Brendan Allen by decision. Before that, was fighting over at Cage Fury FC. So he's 1-2 in his UFC run. I actually think that he was meant to fight on Dana White's Contender Series and then got a late notice call up to fight Brendan Allen. Am I correct with that? I might be completely wrong. I probably am very wrong, but yeah, man. I've got Kevin Holland in this one. I think he gets the job done, and by KO. To be fair. Alright, man, we've got the main event. I actually haven't watched anyone else's opinions on the main event, so I'm just going to give you my opinion on the main event, and we'll see if anyone else agrees or disagrees with me on this one, man. I'm actually leaning. The key word here is leaning. You know how the Weasel gives his percentage on how confident he is? I'm like a 52% Johnny Walker, 48% Thiago Santos. Like, barely on Johnny Walker's side here. This is a interesting fight. I really don't know how it's going to go. Thiago Santos in the last fight against Alexander Rakik, I think we actually expected a bit of a war. And in that fight, we didn't really get much of a war, to be fair. It was a bit, it wasn't necessarily low output, but it kind of was low output, really. Alexander Rakik, I mean, barely outlanded Thiago Santos in those first two rounds, man. Pretty close fight. I'm pretty sure he won 29-28, 27-30. Someone gave Rakik the third round. Man, I need to rewatch that fight. I don't know how we got the third round, but yeah, man. Anyway, a pretty close fight coming off of a loss to Alexander Rakik, and a fight that we probably expected a finish. I think we expected a finish. We didn't quite get a finish. We saw a bit of tentativeness from both guys. I think there was a lot of respect both ways there, and I think that there's a chance we get the same situation here on the Johnny Walker, Thiago Santos side. These guys don't really land takedowns, and they don't really shoot for takedowns. If there is someone shooting for takedowns, it will probably be Thiago Santos. He does have a 38% accuracy, but he does land 0.7 takedowns on average per 15 minutes. So, yeah, that means that he is shooting full takedowns. He's just not necessarily getting them. Maybe... yeah, who knows, man. Anyway, on the other hand, Johnny Walker, 100% takedown accuracy. He's landed 0.4 on average for 15 minutes, so he's not really going for takedowns. He's keeping the fight on the feet. And this is where the fight is interesting, dude. Johnny Walker, 6'6", compared to the 6'2" of Thiago Santos. He's 82 inches of reach and the 76-inch reach of Thiago Santos. He outlands Thiago Santos barely in the stats here, but with a much higher striking accuracy, 72% striking accuracy, but he does absorb a lot more strikes than Thiago Santos does, and has a worse defense than Thiago Santos, which could play a part in Thiago Santos's one-shot knockout power. But if we look at the 5-1-in, Thiago Santos is coming off that KO over Jimmy Manuwa. Unfortunately for Jimmy Manuwa, he did his UFC run with quite a few KO losses. He's got that KO win over Jan Blachowicz. As Jan was kind of coming in, Thiago caught him. Jan Blachowicz has obviously learned since then, and now he's the champion. So that win looks really good on his record. He lost to John Jones in that split decision, which a lot of people argue, man. There is a decent amount of people that do argue that Thiago Santos won that fight. That's a pretty good fight. It was only 2 years ago as well. So Thiago Santos was 35. Got to think about it like this. Thiago Santos is 37 years old now, but since that war, he lost to Glover Teixeira by submission, and then he lost to Alexander Rakik by that decision, man. 30-27 to Alexander Rakik. I really need to rewatch the fight. I did watch it recently, obviously, but yeah, I would never give the third round to Rakik. But anyway, Johnny Walker. So we've got a win over Justin Leday, 9-1. Win over Misha Sirkanov, and then he lost to Corey Anderson by KO. I think that was a first round KO, and lost a decision to Nikita Krylov. But he's bounced back with a win over Ryan Spann, which does look pretty good because Ryan Spann was recently in a main event, although he did get outclassed by Anthony Smith. So maybe the winner of this fight could fight Anthony Smith. I guess it would kind of make sense, maybe. But yeah, man, we'll see. We've got Johnny Walker, only 29 years old. A lot of people were talking about this guy as if he was a big prospect to come. He was 17-3 at one point. He lost a couple, but now he's bouncing back. He's fighting Thiago Santos as the underdog. I'm taking him as the underdog. I just think that he's going to utilize his height. He's going to utilize his reach. I think he's just going to outland Thiago Santos. Thiago Santos, he could come in and knock him out in the first round, man. We need War Santos. It's like that guy that posted hashtag War Sano before the Martin Sano versus Matt Semmelsberger fight, and then Martin Sano got KO'd in 15 seconds. It's got to be like that, except the other way around for Thiago Santos. If Thiago Santos wants to win this fight, he needs to knock out Johnny Walker. If not, I think Johnny Walker could potentially cruise to a decision, just utilizing his reach and staying away from Thiago Santos. But I can see Johnny Walker probably knocking out or finishing Thiago Santos relatively early, maybe like second or third round. But man, this is a tough fight to call. I know everyone's on the Thiago Santos side. I'm pretty sure it's only because they think he's gonna win, but also I think a lot of people want Thiago Santos to win. Man, he's an exciting fighter, and no one really wants to see Thiago Santos in a 4-fight losing streak. But unfortunately, I do have to go with Walker. Everyone thinks the fight is not gonna go the distance. I think that's pretty fair. 87% picking Santos, have him by KO. 80% picking Walker, have him by KO. Mate, what a night we have in the main event. I actually do think that we are going to see a finish. If there is a decision win, I would call Johnny Walker winning the decision. But man, KO either way. I've got Johnny Walker though. Let me know in the comments what you guys think.